Welcome to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. For the next hour, you'll hear proven methods for how to live the multiple income streams dream. Ryan is passionate about helping others discover their gifts and start their own business. He's published 5 books, and his courses and group coaching programs have changed the lives of thousands of students all over the world. Ryan's books include Private Label, The Easy Way, Finding Your Grace Place, and his latest, Streams of Income. And now, here's your host, Ryan Rieger.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger, and today we're chatting with my new friend, Mike Bolton of Life Rekindled. And this episode is so full of golden nuggets. I took a ton of notes, a whole page of notes here from this episode with Mike. He's somebody that I just met recently. And we met because he said yes to a lunch meeting with my friend and I and another gentleman that he's connected with. And when Mike and I met for lunch, we just felt an instant connection. And I'm so excited to bring this interview to you because he's just got so much wisdom from his years in business and in ministry. We talked about marriage. He wrote a book called Ignite Your Marriage, and one called Ignite Your Mission. And he's working on a new leadership book. And so we talked about marriage stuff. We talked about going deep and finding your why, how to find your purpose and your mission in life. I wrote down one thing here. You can't be mad at someone you're praying for. So if you're praying for your spouse, it's hard to stay mad at them. Say yes and see what happens. We talked about the spiritual foundation, how that is so key. Overnight successes takes at least 10 years. He says the harder he works, the luckier he gets. And this was just information on how, advice actually for entrepreneurs to be patient, that you have to have high competence and high character, and you play the long game. There's just so much good stuff from this episode. I know you're going to enjoy it. Go to liferekindled.com to grab his books. You can also grab them on Amazon. And he also has a podcast. It's only a minute or two each episode. There's just really good bite-sized chunks of wisdom in each of those episodes. But you're going to love this interview. Here is my friend, Mike. Mike, welcome to Streams of Income.
Hey, Ryan, it is so good to be with you. This is a real joy to connect. You know, we've connected face-to-face and in person now, you know, on your podcast, and it's just a joy to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you. And just certain people that you meet, you just feel an instant connection. And I felt that with you. You know, we had that lunch with your mentor, John, and didn't know that there was going to be any. Well, actually, Pam did say there's somebody else going to be joining us. She didn't know who you were. And it was just, I don't know, it was just awesome to have you there at that lunch. And I just felt an instant connection with you and eager to see what the Lord does in our relationship.
You know, and that is so true. You know, I found in life, John Maxwell is somebody who taught me to say yes and see what happens. And it was yes to that luncheon with John. And he mentioned you guys were coming. Yeah. And I go, hey, let's just meet some new people. And he told me a little bit about the connection. And And I've never forgot that the doors that get opened, and that's a real encouraging for people. Say yes to at least meeting somebody, connecting with somebody, and you'll be amazed oftentimes what doors get opened. And I just talked yesterday to a mutual friend that you introduced me to, and that's going to open up doors. So, I mean, that's really the way things work when you say yes.
Absolutely. Real quick question. I want to get into your story, but in this, my podcast, I know you've listened to several episodes, you know that it could literally end up, who knows which way this is going to end up. I don't have, on my podcast, there's not a set of 5 questions I ask everybody. It's very conversational. One thing I love about having a podcast is I can ask questions that I genuinely want to know. And I know there's people in my audience that will too, but you know, I can be selfish and ask the question that I want to know because it's my podcast. But this is not a selfish question. But I want to know, you said say yes. And so you're a successful business person and you've been successful in ministry and are successful in life. And if, you know, the question about saying yes, like if when people come to you and say, I want to take you to lunch and pick your brain, you know, I have people that are coaches that will say, you know, you can't say yes to all of those because people are just kind of like, they're trying to get into your head for free, and it shouldn't be free, but you also want to be a blessing to people. Where does that line up with you? Like if I had reached out to you saying, "Hey, I saw you on LinkedIn and I know you're local, and hey, can I buy you lunch and pick your brain?" Like where do you
draw the line?
Where do you draw the line? Yeah. And
Yeah.
I know that's also maybe just hearing from the Lord and praying about it and getting a quick yes or no, but do you have anything to, some thoughts on that?
That is a great question. As you get more successful, people want more access to you, right?
Yeah.
And so, and my wife Debbie and I have talked some about that. How do you manage your schedule? Because all of us have the same thing, right? We get so the same amount of hours in a week, and you can't say yes to everything, and so you have to be strategic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm pretty strategic about the people that I connect with, and it usually comes as a result of an introduction from somebody that I already have a relationship with.
Yes,
that can one vouch for them, and they know that would be a good connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that if I would have just said, and you never met me, introduce me to your friends, you'd go, oh, no, hold on. I take that personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want my friends to do the same with me, not vet, but vet.
Yeah.
Who is this person? What?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that can be a Zoom conversation first, which takes, block out 10 minutes and you go right away. You're probably, if you're good and you're a pretty good judge of character, you go, this is a good fit or not a good fit. Doesn't mean we don't like people.
Sure.
We love everybody, but we can't make time for everybody. It has to be strategic to fit into where we're going. And so you have to have a process to be able to vet people. Now, I'm very social, as are you, and I like to connect with people. And I have a little more flexibility in my schedule, so I might have a bit more room for that.
Yeah.
But my friend John Maxwell is reading his latest book on communication. You can have access to him, but it's going to cost you a donation to his foundation.
Yes.
This is not complicated.
Sure.
And so very successful people, they set the bar and let people self-select.
Yeah.
And so there's opportunities there to say yes, but you have to be selective.
Absolutely.
And have a threshold, maybe a block of time, like I said, a phone call, a Zoom connection, for 10 minutes. Well, let's talk over Zoom. Tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah.
And then if there's possibility of further follow up with it. So
sure. That's good. Good.
It's kind of like with real estate. And actually my wife and I just listed this house here.
Oh, wow.
We're going to be selling it. We're not sure. A downsize transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so the realtor was saying, well, open house. Do you want to have it open to everybody? Because there'll be a lot of people who just, want to come see the house. They're not no interest in buying it.
Yeah.
I get that. And so you have to kind of figure that out, how you want to navigate that.
Yeah.
And the same thing with people. It's try to be kind to everybody, but you don't always have room for everybody.
Sure. So true. Yeah.
That's a long, there we go. That's a long answer.
That's great advice. Question. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, you have a fascinating story. Let's talk about that. Feel free to jump in anywhere you feel like that's, appropriate to your story and what you're doing now.
Well, when I'm talking to people, I go, okay, you were born, tell me everything after that. Well, we don't have to go into all the detail, but I was born and raised in Canada. All I wanted to do is play hockey, typical Canadian thing. Actually, there's a picture in the background there.
Uh-huh.
We won a national championship my last year in club hockey for all of Canada. So that was,
wow.
That was pretty fun. Now, don't be too impressed, Ryan. That was almost 40 years ago. Next year is 40 years. I look at that picture and I go, man, those guys looked young.
Yes.
And we were. So that's all I wanted to do. And my life took an interesting, I moved away from home when I was 16 to play club hockey in Canada, which is basically, young men, 16 to 20-year-olds. And I was 16 at the time, so I was on the younger end of that.
Wow.
Pretty mature. Had a bit of a crisis in my life, kind of like, I'll tell that story because I think it's relevant.
Go for it. Yeah.
I grew up in an alcoholic home. And so I hated my dad for what he became when he drank. And I remember living away from home at 16. My coach got a picture of me after I'd been drinking all night, you know, hungover. And he showed me the Polaroid picture the next morning because I was living with the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I saw I'd become exactly what I despised, which was my father.
Mm.
And that was a life-changing moment for me to go, there's got to be more.
Mm.
And I bet you within 4 months, 3 months for sure, that I had an opportunity to hear the good news of Jesus.
Mm.
And I said yes to Jesus, sign me up. And I became a follower of Jesus. At that point, I was 17. I just turned 17.
Okay.
And it was a life-changing moment for me. So it set me on a trajectory. Moved to Saskatchewan, another province in Canada, to play club hockey there, and went to a small Christian high school and Bible college. And that's where kind of grew in my faith. I met my wife. We won a national championship. I got a scholarship to go to the US, play college hockey, Div 1 college hockey. Hockey didn't work out so great, but they hired me as a campus pastor.
Wow.
And that started this journey of pastoring, and did that as a campus pastor and a senior pastor and a Bible college instructor for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then made this interesting transition into the marketplace, where I began to see my wife, who was one of the 3 co-founders of a company called Norwex, which is a home party company around the world.
Which is an amazing product, by the way. My wife loves the Norwex.
Yes, thank you. And I say to everybody that I hear that, I go, thank you for being a loyal customer. And it really began to see that there was opportunities to really help people connect them to Jesus in a real positive way that would move their marriage and their life and their business forward very holistically. And it just opened up this whole world to me. And that's kind of the world I transitioned into. Got connected with John Maxwell, became a coach with him. I've taken a lot of coaching and training, and have developed a whole program that just kind of flows out of that. And that's the Life Rekindled.
Yeah.
So that's kind of this 40-year journey.
Yeah.
In my life. My wife and I have been married 40 years this August. And it's just this whole journey of life and ministry and business and navigating that whole world that has brought me to this point, where now I really want to share a lot about that with other people.
Yeah. Wow. Well, tell us about Life Rekindle. What is it?
Well, Life Rekindle kind of focuses in on 3 areas. Your mission and purpose, because I get for people that if they don't get that quite figured out, there's going to be a level of frustration. Once you get your mission and purpose figured out, and it usually flows out of your why. And that to me was a game changer, to really focus in and dig down on the why. Why do I do what I do? Why do I want to share? Why do I want to help people? Why are there certain areas I want to help people in and not others? And digging down to that why really was helpful to me to know that there are two parts of that. I want to be a person who gives. That's kind of my nature. I'm a very generous person. And so I want to be a person who gives and helps others. And by nature, I'm a bit of a teacher as well. I love teaching. Everything I do, flows out of me wanting to teach. I have a life experience. Well, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Running the LA Marathon. So I ran the March 2023 LA Marathon. People go, why would you do that? I'd never run a marathon before. I was an athlete, stayed pretty fit. But 3 years ago in 2020, right in the middle of COVID, I had a massive heart attack and had to have quad bypass surgery. Life-changing moment. And, when you're met with the possibility that your life could be over, people say, did you see the pearly gates? Did you see the white light? No, I never saw any of that. But I knew this was serious. I didn't think I was going to die, but I could have. And so I made a decision to get healthy. Fortunately, dodged a bullet. The heart's working good. Lost 50 pounds. And I had to make this decision that I wanted to celebrate my recovery. And so running the marathon was a gift to myself and to my family that I can get healthy.
Well, at mile 20, you told me how tough it was. At mile 20, it probably wasn't a gift, right?
Well, yeah, you find out afterwards that things are a lot easier said than done.
Yes.
fact, anything worthwhile is easier, is easier said than done.
Yeah.
But I had to make that decision to go, I want to celebrate that. This is something I want to do. And my wife was there to celebrate. But number two, equally as important, we have 5 grandkids. My wife and I have 5 grandkids, ages 8 to 4. And we tell them all the time, you can do things, you can do hard things when you're fearful, just focus and do things even when you're fearful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, well, they're going to look to my wife and I and go, well, do you live out what you teach us?
Mm.
And I go, I want to be able to say to them, you can do hard things. And remember when Grandpa and Grandma ran the marathon? Now, Debbie and I are going to run the June 25th Missoula, Montana Marathon together to celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary. Most people just go out for dinner.
And you're going to run
We're going to run a marathon.
Wow.
Nobody would ever accuse us of high levels of sanity.
Right.
But to say to our grandkids, you can do hard things.
Mm.
And so that's the whole idea of this why, digging down and knowing your why. I think it was Viktor Frankl who said, if your why is strong enough, you can endure anyhow.
Mm.
And there are moments where when you're doing what you feel you've been created to do and called to do,
Yeah.
and it gets hard, you've experienced that, Ryan.
Yeah.
And lots of people have.
Yeah.
Is your why strong enough to carry you through? Will you persevere? Because you know without beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is why you're on this earth. This is why you're called to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're gifted to do it. You're competent.
Yeah.
And you can make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
You know that why, then you're going to live a fulfilling purpose.
Do you feel like most people know their why?
And to know your why and your purpose. And so
do you feel like
that's a
most
whole
people
part
out
of this,
Yeah.
the whole book on mission and purpose. I don't know how good that's turning out there, but we'll have it in the link. You can get it on Amazon.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a link in there. Do you feel
That
like
to
most
me was
people know their why?
Game-changing. What's that?
Do you feel like most people even know their why?
I think.
How do you walk people through that? Like if you were in front of a group of people, a couple hundred people, whoever, and 20, it doesn't matter the number, that they're just, maybe they're, my age. I've turned 48 this year. I get a lot of emails from people that say I'm that age or more and still don't even know what they're called to do. How would you walk them through that?
I think one of the good news things is most people are closer than they think.
Mm.
Okay. It's not some distant planet that you have to travel to.
Yeah.
It's probably closer than you think. And you're probably close to it. You're probably skirting around it. I was, until I really narrowed it down. There's an exercise, and I just encouraged people to go online. It's called 7 Levels Deep. I first discovered it from Dean Graziosi. So Dean does a lot of stuff with Tony Robbins, real estate and personal development. And he shared it for the first time with me. So I'll give him credit. And I think he even gives credit to where he got it from, right? You and I both know the art of originality is forgetting where you first heard it. So it's just like, I don't know where I heard it, but I do know in this case, so I'll give him credit, Dean Graziosi. And it's seven levels deep. And you can go online, just type it in the search bar and something will come up, some variation. Why do you do what you do? And why do you, somebody says, I want to be successful in business. Why? Well, that's a good question. Because it'll provide finances for my family. Why? Why is that important? Well, because I grew up poor and I didn't like when we didn't have enough. And why? And you just keep going down. And it has been a game changer for me to dig down and to go, why do I want to be successful? One, for my family legacy. Here's the thing I say to people all the time. Everyone's leaving a legacy. You can choose to leave a good legacy, or you can allow it to just happen by default.
Yeah.
I would recommend the former, not the latter.
Yes.
And it's about being very intentional in what you do in life. And so really 7 levels deep. It took me probably 45 minutes to an hour. And it was heart-wrenching because it really touched on some areas that probably I hadn't touched on in a while. Going back to being a little kid, some moments of embarrassment growing, as I mentioned, about growing up in an alcoholic home. It really, really shaped me. And a lot of the things that we experience early on in life really do shape us more than we know.
Yeah.
And so to dig down and not be afraid of those emotions. Because here's something just on a side note that I really, when things go on for me and I have emotion that comes out, and for guys, we don't talk about emotion, man, I'm in touch with my emotions. Mm-hmm. Because that makes me a good human being and way better at connecting with people.
Yeah.
But when I say, for example, something happens and I get frustrated, I always stop and I go, what's going on? Mm-hmm. 3 questions. What's going on? What am I feeling? And where's that coming from? Mm. And this is only the last couple of years I've really discovered this and dug in on it. And there was something that happened. It was meaningless, but it really made me so frustrated. And my buddy was going, Mike, it's okay. It's not that big a deal. And I'm going, no, this is a big deal. And I was just really, and he goes, and I stopped and I did that little exercise. So what's going on? Well, okay, this happened. Not that big a deal, right? The emotion was disproportionate to the event. What was going on? I was embarrassed. And it took me back to an 8-year-old boy. Mm. You talk about a revelatory moment for me.
Yeah.
To go back to this little 8-year-old boy who was embarrassed by his dad. Mm. Man, I had to forgive my dad. I had to kind of work through that process again. Mm. And it was like, it was freeing for me.
Yeah.
To go, man, I can be in touch. So that to me is part of this mission, is really digging into the areas of life. And this is a template for me that's really key. What's going on? And so it's kind of like building a house. Mm-hmm. And this is how I describe it. Spiritual foundation. I'm a person of faith. So what's the foundation? Everybody's house is going to be built on some kind of foundation. I'd rather build it on a solid, proven, tested foundation.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's parables in the Bible. Jesus told some stories about built on a rock, built on sand. Mm-hmm. When the storm, listen, you can't tell a house how it's going to hold up until some stress is applied to it. A storm, an earthquake, something. Mm-hmm. So spiritual foundation. And then mentally, how am I growing mentally? What's my mindset? Is my mindset growing? Is it open to growth? And there was a great book by Carol Dweck about mindset that was revolutionary to me. Carol Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. Great book on mindset. Life-changing for me. Probably one of the 5 most influential books in my life.
Wow. All right.
So what's going on for my mindset? Mm-hmm. Am I emotionally resilient? So another area that I work on. What's my emotional resiliency like? Do I have some level in my life? Or am I all over the place emotionally? Because, man, when I deal with my emotions and my emotional baggage, to deal with stuff today, once I did a lot of work in that area over the last 20 years, man, my level of emotions, no matter what comes along, man, I can just kind of ride that out a lot more even. Yeah, there's ups and downs, but it's way more even. Relational. How's my relational peace? Here's a question that here's a comment or a quote that I read, or a question. So it is, who are the people that love and respect you the most? Are they the people that know you from a distance, or are they the people that know you the best and are closest to you? I want the people closest to me, my wife, my kids, my grandkids, my closest friends, to love and respect me more than people do from a distance.
That's good. Because
they really know the true me.
Yeah.
And boy, I tell you, that's a game changer for me. How am I doing relationally with people? Yes. And then how am I doing with my time and my finances? So those I think that's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think. Oh, physically. I forgot about that one. My physical fitness and health. This is the body I'm going to go through life with. I can't accomplish everything I want if it's not healthy and strong. Exactly. And so I focus a lot of attention on it. That's why I run and weight lift and watch what I eat most of the time. Except when we go out for lunch, and then it's
right.
That really looks good. I'm going to have that too. But 99% of the time, it's much better. And after that health scare, so health and fitness too. So those are the 7 areas that I focus in on. In the mission book, it's very holistic.
Yeah.
Oh, and so what are the other areas? Marriage. So Debbie and I, our newest books on marriage, Ignite Your Marriage. That's something we're super passionate about. And the third part of it is on leadership, business, And so I'm just working on that book for the trifecta, the initial trifecta of books in Life Rekindled. So,
That's
leadership,
awesome.
leading yourself, leading others, leading teams. That's really key, because we can't lead ourselves first. You're not going to be able to lead anybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Got to start.
Well, we don't talk a lot about marriage on this podcast, but it's a key part of my life. I've always tell my wife, like, I feel like if I was successful in business but had a crappy marriage, then I think it would make everything crappy. I feel like if I was, it would be really hard to feel like I had a successful life if my marriage was horrible. And so talk about marriage. Like, what have you guys learned in 40 years? I know you can't distill it down into a 5-minute talk on a podcast,
but I can talk about some of the things. One is, what's the purpose of marriage? Purpose of marriage is not to make you happy. It's to make you a better person. I was incredibly selfish before I got married. I am way less selfish now. Was that a pleasant journey? No. Because I have to now account for other people in my life. Now, my wife and I talk about it. I would not be the person I am today if I wasn't married to her, and vice versa. She's pretty honest about it as well, that I've allowed her in our marriage and our complementing way we do marriage, for her to be able to do all that she is gifted and called to do. Yeah. So the purpose of marriage is to make us better people. There's a proverb that I like. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. But I equate that as well to marriage. When iron sharpens iron, last time I checked, sparks fly. And it's not always the pleasant sparks of excitement and passion in marriage. It's like, what the heck is going on? I love my wife every day, but I don't like her every day. But I know in the long term, I'm going to be a better person. Being married affords the opportunity to bring children into this world, which is going to be my legacy. Raise 3 sons, have 4 grandsons, and a little granddaughter who's going to, one of the grandsons has a birthday in a couple of days. And our 4-year-old granddaughter, she's going to be 4 in May. It's like, this is the most amazing thing. And because we worked on our marriage, we get to enjoy being grandparents.
That's good.
And I always say to people, the family revolves around the marriage, not around the kids.
Yes.
And people go, what are you talking about? I go, husband, doesn't revolve around your work. That's what you're called to do.
Yeah.
If you don't put time into your marriage, it will affect every part of your life. And it will affect your business. I talk to guys all the time. They look like they're successful in business, but their marriage blew apart. And I go, was it worth it?
Yeah.
Nobody on their deathbed says, I wish I would have spent more time at work.
No, definitely not.
Would I have spent more time in my family, on my marriage and my family? And I tell you, I always say to people, hard work compounds, but you don't see the result early on.
Yeah.
My wife and I really went through some very challenging times in the first 10 to 12 years of our marriage. And we decided at that point to do a lot of hard work, which we are now reaping the benefits of. Did we reap them immediately? Yeah, there was some immediate benefits. Some of the issues that we dealt with were taken care of, but now the compounding effect, it's like money, right? You don't see the compound effect immediately, but give it 20 years, give it 30 years, give it 40 years. Now you're just disproportionately reaping the benefits of the hard work you did years ago.
That's so good.
And it just makes everything so much more, all the success, it makes it so much better because you can share it.
Yes.
You get to share it with somebody.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, I'm in Canada, she's in Texas. I'm flying home for the weekend because we haven't had a lot of time together. And so we'll have some time together before I come back to Canada and she goes to who knows where she's going to before we connect again. We're very intentional about our marriage, very intentional.
Yeah, you said you had a 10-day rule?
We have a 10-day rule. Yeah. Don't be apart for longer than 10 days.
Yeah. Wow. What are some other things that you guys do practically that is you guys working on your marriage, or things that you would just, what are those practical things that you
we try to find things that we have a common interest in.
Mhm.
And so we try to do things together. We both love to entertain. So we do that regularly in our home where we can speak into the lives. We both like to teach. And so we try to teach together where we can. We both like pouring into the lives of people. So we mentor couples. I don't know if we can say we both like running, but we both are running at the moment to get ready for the marathon.
Yeah.
And so we do that together. But one of the key things I've found is that we get up together in the morning.
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily a morning person. She is, but I've made the decision to adjust my schedule to get up in the morning where we can talk about the day, connect for 15 to 30 minutes in the morning, minus our phones, and just kind of talk about what's going on. And as best we can, at the end of the day, we go to bed together and we pray together at night. 100% of the time, no, but most of the time. And it just, you can't be mad at someone that you're praying for.
It's true. Oh, that's good.
Really, you got to really, really, really work hard at it.
That's right.
So I'd rather just let some things go and pray for my wife and our family. And so we start the day, it's the bookends, right? Start and finish as best we can.
Yeah.
We do that. So those are our guidelines.
That's really good.
The Bible talks about don't let the sun go down on your anger. Let resentment build up.
Yeah.
What's the principle there? Don't let resentment build up. So if something's bugging you, you have to be able to talk about it. You have to risk good, healthy conflict.
Yeah.
To alleviate those little, it's like a sliver. You ever got a sliver and you just, I don't want to pull it out. Well, it's just going to get worse. It doesn't get better. You have to kind of clean it up. So, and the biggest thing is, as I dealt with stuff from my past, I remember early on in our marriage, my wife sounded just like my mother. She wasn't, but every time I heard her talk, I heard my mom nagging my dad and nagging me, which I disliked.
Yeah.
And because I didn't deal with that, now I transferred that onto my wife.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I so much, and I say to this people all the time, what you are most frustrated in your spouse probably says more about you than it does about them. And that's a general rule. When I'm frustrated with other people, it says more about me than it does about them. Because it means there's stuff that I got to deal with.
Wow.
And I tell you, if you go deep, and I'm a big fan of going deep, when you go deep, you'll go far in life. If you go deep on the inside, you'll be able to go far because you're more authentic, you're more real. You're more real in marriage. You're more real in business. You're more real as a friend. You're just more authentic.
Yeah.
Because you're not trying to be somebody you're not, right? I'm not trying to put on a front. This is who I am. If you came to my house, if all the listeners, we could get them over and had a big party. I know with you, you'd be the same person you are when we have lunch or on this podcast.
Right.
And I know I would be.
Yeah.
Because that's who I am. This is who I am. So that's hopefully there was some pointers in there. If people go,
so good.
wow, that was a lot of stuff. They can go back and listen to it again.
Oh, that's so good.
But marriage is a huge passion.
Yeah.
And I was scared to death to get married because my parents didn't have a good marriage. And my wife came from a broken home where her parents divorced. And so we were pretty intentional. And one of the other things we do is we go every year, we went for a marriage tune-up. After about year 12, when we kind of went through our crisis and got some help, every year after that, at least once a year, we would go and get a marriage tune-up conference, a marriage coach. We would just to check up what's going on. And it always gave us stuff to work on for the year. And one of the ones we go to regularly is in Dallas for the XO Marriage Conference, Jimmy Evans Marriage Today, best marriage conference we've ever been to. And you can go online. I encourage people to go online. Of course, Life Rekindled has some good stuff, but the best stuff out there is Marriage Today, XO Marriage, Jimmy and Karen Evans. Unbelievable marriage stuff. And Jimmy, they've been married 55 years or something. I mean, it's stunning. And he's very authentic, which really connected to me as a guy, right? Yeah. He basically comes on and go, I was stupid. Every guy goes, I get it. You say no more, right?
Yeah.
Say no more. And it gives hope because, man, we can change in a good way. So marriage is not just settling. So many people go, I'm just going to settle. Don't settle for less than optimal.
Yeah.
Now it takes work to get to optimal.
Mm-hmm.
What else in life? Business, do you have to work hard?
Mm-hmm.
Health, you got to work hard.
Yeah.
Learning new things, you got to work hard. Sure you do. But somehow we think marriage is just, we're in love, we'll be in love forever, and fairy dust and rose petals and who knows what else. No, that's not how life works.
Right.
So,
Mm.
but the work is worth it. I want to encourage people with that. The work is always worth it. You got to make the investment.
That is so good. Wow. Well, how can people find you?
LifeRekindled.com. LifeRekindled.com. And you'll probably put it in the show notes somewhere there.
Absolutely will.
Life Rekindled, all one word, LifeRekindled.com. And then the books are on Amazon. Just type in Mike Bolton books. I think there's another guy who does fishing books who's got the same name. I'm not the fishing book guy. It's the one on marriage and mission, and very distinct, very bright colors as well.
Yes.
So yellow and this, whatever this green is. Is that turquoise? I don't know. What color is that? Women would know.
Looks turquoise.
I'm kind of that just primary colors, the 8 crayons.
Yes.
You're in the box, not the 500 you get today.
Me too. It's not chartreuse and all those other colors.
Yeah, I go, okay, I don't even know what that is. I know it's beautiful. Women just have this whole other language. Hey, good, that's
right.
Great.
Oh my gosh. Cool. Well, what other advice would you give entrepreneurs? These are people that are trying to build their businesses, and
wow,
you obviously you've got a lot of experience in this area. What would you tell people?
People look at people who are successful. They'll look at you, they'll look at me and others and go, oh, they were just so lucky.
Mm.
The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
There's a good phrase for people.
Mm-hmm.
Work hard, make your own luck. Number 2, an overnight success usually takes about 10 years.
Yeah.
Minimum, maybe longer. And be patient as you build things. You got to play the long game. A lot of people try things and they'll try it for 3 months. It's not for me. Move on to something else. No, that's not quite how it works.
Yeah.
I've been wanting, and the book says an example, I've been wanting to get these books done for a lot of years, but then I found a strategy that worked to be able to get it done. So don't give up. Keep looking for strategies. Mm-hmm. I know you share those kind of things with what you do, helping people to put strategies in place. People are successful in so many areas, but it's developed knowing your why, because you can't go, I just want to make money.
Yeah.
You and I both know you make money. So what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You just put it in the bank, and no, money means something.
Yeah.
Money is a tool. So you have to know what you want it to do.
Yes.
And you have to have a deeper why that usually involves helping people. So whatever people are doing, develop that skill in dealing with people. 2 parts of entrepreneurship go hand in hand, right? High confidence and high character. Make sure you have both. Become the best at what you do. Highly competent, but also make sure you're a person of character. That people look at you and go, they're doing things the right way.
That's good.
They're helping. They're not ripping anybody off. People look at wealthy people and go, well, who did they step on the way? Last time I checked, successful people in the long term, I'm not talking about, one hit wonder. Successful in the long term, know how to build teams, know how to help people. They just help more people than you do.
Yeah.
If somebody was asking me, they just helped more people. People talk about Elon Musk. I don't know what people think of Elon Musk, but he has helped a lot of people. Mm-hmm. He's created a lot of jobs. He's created a lot of opportunities.
Yes.
His space program, his, buying Twitter, and that's a whole controversial topic in and of itself. But, he wants to help people communicate without all the hindrances that the former ownership structure put in place. Electric cars. My son has a Tesla. They are incredible cars.
Yeah.
They're incredible cars. So he helps a lot of people. Mm-hmm. He's pretty wealthy.
Yes.
And so make a determination to help people, but you got to play the long game. I remember when I was buying real estate, and it started with one house. And it really came down to, this house was an eyesore. And I go, I want to provide good living accommodations for people in my city.
Hmm.
And I bought it and turned it around, and then one led to another, and I built a large portfolio by helping people
Yes.
with quality places to live at a reasonable price.
That's good.
So,
Yes.
that was part of the why, and then other things I do, including now Life Rekindled. I want to help people to be all that they can be in their mission and purpose, in their marriage and family, in their leadership and in their business, to be able to help them be successful in every area. That holistic approach.
That's awesome. Well, congrats on all that, and honor to have you on. And Phil, if you ever want to come back on, you just say, "Hey, I want to come back on the podcast," and you're on. So you just tell me.
You know what, Ryan? I'll get that other book done because it's in process. I'm hoping within 3 months.
Okay.
You can check up on me because we'll be connecting. You'll go, Mike, how's that book coming? I got the outline done. I got the set up. I've been already doing some teaching and writing on it. So it's just putting it together and getting it, and then we can talk about that. Because
sounds good.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun.
Let's do it. Well, thanks for being on. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much. And again, as we said to the people, liferekindled.com. I do a kind of a weekly thing called Minute with Mike, and it'll be in the Life Rekindled. You just kind of scroll to the bottom or type in the search Minute with Mike, and it's a kind of a little motivational 1 to 2 minute thing that comes up once a week in the 3 areas that we've talked about.
Love it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
You've been listening to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. From right here in the Dallas Metroplex, Ryan teaches several entrepreneurial courses and group coaching programs to students all over the world. Be sure to listen next week at the same time for Streams of Income with Ryan Rieger.